What's up people, welcome back to another video, and in this one I'm going to tell you exactly how you can become a full-time MMA gambler, exactly how you can start to earn money from betting on MMA. So it's very possible to earn money from betting on MMA. It's very possible to earn a massive amount of money from betting on MMA. You know, every time I make a video, there'll be one comment of someone saying the house always wins. So obviously my videos go through the algorithm, and a lot of people who don't know things about sports betting will comment. And they say the house always wins, right? But what a lot of people fail to understand and fail to realize is that the house always wins is a term based on the casino games, right? It's a term based on roulette and games such as this, where the house does always win because they have a baked-in edge. And it's not the same for sports betting. Now, the house does have a baked-in edge with their vigorish, their vig, their juice, whatever you want to call it.
You got the juice now, man.
But they don't always win against every player, right? Because as I said, the house always wins is a saying based on the casino games, not based on sports betting. So if you're a sports bettor, you can make money from sports betting, you can make money long-term from sports betting, and you can be a full-time sports bettor, right? So the first thing is first, you have to understand that it's possible. And after that, you'll be able to actually implement what you need to do to become a good sports bettor. Because if you don't believe it's possible, you're never going to achieve it. That is just a 101 rule book for life. So I'm going to make this a very simple video, right? Because I could speak about this subject for around 5 to 6 hours, non-stop, with no edits and no one stopping me, right? But obviously I ain't going to make a 6-hour video. So I'm going to keep it quite short and sweet. And I'm going to mention two main things that you need to understand if you want to make money from betting on sports. So the first thing is like an overall thing. You have to understand that it's possible. Your mindset has to believe it's possible. Otherwise, you're never going to do anything in life if you don't believe it's possible to do that thing, right? It's literally impossible to do something you don't think is possible, for the most part. So first of all, we believe it's possible. We've said that. Now, there's only two things you need to do after that, right? These two things are massive, but there is only two things that come under the sports betting. To be a good sports bettor, you only need to do two things. The first is become a good handicapper, and I'll speak about that in a minute. And the second is to become a good sports bettor. So there's two different things, right? So a lot of people are decent handicappers, right? They can handicap a game well. And what I mean by handicap is do research for MMA, or if we're talking about other sports, whatever sports it is, do research and then make a prediction on the outcome of the event that you researched. Not only do you make a prediction, but you make multiple predictions on multiple different ways the game or event could happen, right? And if you're a good handicapper, then your predictions are going to be quite accurate, quite close over time. Now, that is what handicapping is, handicapping a sport. Now, a lot of people don't handicap because handicapping is basically you sitting down and researching the sport or the event yourself, right? But a lot of people, they use stats and they use models. So it's not actually them handicapping the sport. They're just using statistics only. They're just using a model, an algorithm that is already made, that as soon as a event happens, you just plug the event into the algorithm and then it's going to bring up a prediction for you. It's going to bring up what you should bet on. Those guys are not true handicappers. The handicapping I'm talking about is doing your own research without the use of a model, without the use of any type of algorithm or any computer system. So you need to be a good handicapper, and that's 50% of the equation of becoming a profitable, full-time, whatever you want to call it, sports bettor. The second part of the equation is you need to learn how to bet on sports, because they're two completely different things. I might be very good at predicting an outcome of a UFC event, right, or a UFC fight, but I might be very, very terrible at betting on that fight, because sports betting is completely different than handicapping. They're two completely different things. That's why a lot of people who maybe UFC fighters, I know a lot of UFC fighters think they'll be very good at betting on the UFC, but I know professional fighters, and the fighters I know, they're probably some of the worst people when it comes to sports betting at all. So just because you can handicap, or just because you can analyze or break down a specific sport, does not mean you are a good sports bettor. They're completely different things, right? So the second part of the equation is becoming a good sports bettor. You need to be a good gambler, right? Regardless of what event you're betting on, regardless of how good of a handicapper you are, you need to understand gambling terms. You need to know how to find value. You need to know that you're not trying to bet on who you're predicting to win. You need to know that you're betting on where you predict the value is, or where you think the value lies based on your prediction. You need to know how to control your emotions going through downswings and upswings. You need to know how to not chase your money. Like, sports betting is 50% of the equation, and it's massive. You know, you can literally bet for 20 years and you're still going to be learning new things when it comes to sports betting on year 20. Whereas with handicapping, although the game does change in a lot of sports, you can become a good handicapper in a couple of years and your skills will basically stay the same as long as you're putting in as much work as you always was. But it's not the same with sports betting, right? Because edges change all the time, markets change all the time. Sports betting is by far the hardest piece to get down. So now we understand that there's only two things to becoming a professional gambler, full-time gambler, to making money from MMA or any other sport. There's only two pieces, right? Now, how can we get good at those two pieces? You go and watch my other videos, right? Because I've got hundreds of other videos on this channel, and a lot of them are dedicated to handicapping MMA, and a lot of them, even more of them, are dedicated to becoming a good sports bettor, right? So, as I said, I cannot tell you in this video how to do either. I'm just telling you that you need to do both. The way you do either, or the way you do both, is by trial and error, by betting for years and years, by watching hundreds of hours of my content, gaining the knowledge that I have in my free YouTube videos, and implementing them into your own gambling. So the handicapping piece, there's many different ways we handicap MMA, right? You have to understand striking in MMA. You have to understand grappling in MMA. You have to understand the judges. And sometimes the judges have bad scorecards. We need to understand that if we want to cap MMA. We need to understand what hype is in MMA. We need to understand what recency bias is and what causes recency bias. We need to understand that fighters that are making their UFC debuts, oftentimes they underperform. But if they've come in and they've got a lot of hype off a show like Dana White's Contender Series, we also need to understand that even on their debuts, they're oftentimes overvalued. So it's a combination of them being overvalued on their debut, just because that's how hype and recency bias works, and also a combination of that and them underperforming on their UFC debut. A lot of fighters underperforming on UFC debut makes it that when fighters are coming off the Contender Series or fighters are making their debut with a lot of hype, we can bet against them to make a lot of money. Not all the time, but a lot of times, right? These are a few of the things you have to understand when it comes to sports betting. You need to understand physicality. You need to understand what a reach advantage means, what a size advantage means. You need to see the intricacies of fighting as they are playing out. You need to understand what poor cardio looks like and what cardio looks like when the fighter may seem to have poor cardio, but they actually push through fatigue very well, Dricus du Plessis, right? There's many different things that can go on forever that you need to learn when it comes under the handicapping side of MMA. And the only way you'll do that is by watching MMA fights every week, understanding the sport, trying to gamble yourself, learning from your mistakes, learning from the stuff you do well, and then watching videos like mine and whoever else is on YouTube that teach you how to become a good handicapper, right? So spend some time on that. That's the skill you need to have. That's 50% of the puzzle, done. And then we move on, and obviously we're doing this simultaneously. We don't do one after the other. But simultaneously, we're trying to become a good sports bettor. And what I mean by that is understanding how to control your emotions in sports betting. And many different things come under controlling your emotions. For example, chasing losses. That's directly correlated with handling your emotions. Not over betting. That's directly correlated with handling your emotions a lot of the time, right? You also have to understand things outside of that, like staking structures. You have to understand what a big bet is, what a max bet is. You have to understand what value is. You have to understand how to follow the market. You have to understand how to read the market. You have to understand what CLV is. Is it important in your specific market? How important is it? Is it really important to be getting CLV on every single bet? And if so, why? And if so, how then, right? We need to be understanding that bookmaker limits are something that we have to get around, right? So we need to understand how to open different accounts. We need to understand line shopping. There's so many things that you need to learn that come under the sports betting piece. And again, how do you do that? Well, you sports bet, you learn from your mistakes, you learn from your wins, you learn from your losses, you watch videos like mine, you watch the plethora of videos, podcasts, books out there on people who are a lot better at sports betting than me, and they have a lot of videos online, right? In terms of MMA betting, there's not that much online. You can stick with my stuff. Maybe there's a few other people that make videos on MMA betting specifically, but there's people out there really. But with sports betting, there's so much content out there. It's not hard to learn, or it's not hard to find information that will teach you to be a good sports bettor. but it is very hard to become a good sports bettor, right? And then the caveat to all of this, because I'm always real with you guys, I'm always transparent and open. The caveat to this is that you ain't gonna learn this in 1 year. It's gonna take you multiple years to learn this at the very minimum. And you're gonna need to go through trial and error. No matter how much you learn from me, most of the time you're gonna have to go through a lot of that shit yourself. Obviously, watching someone like me, you're gonna learn a lot, right? And you're gonna be able to circumvent a lot of mistakes. But at the end of the day, you're gonna have to go through a lot of mistakes yourself before you actually learn it, right? So that's really it, guys. It is possible to make money from sports betting. It is possible to make money from MMA betting. I'm sitting here in front of you right now as someone who's made millions of dollars betting on MMA, and I'm gonna continue to do that like I have been doing every single year, basically, since I've started betting on MMA, but not since I started betting, because I've been betting for about 15 years and I've only been profitable about 7 of them. So we can say half of my entire betting career, 15-year span, I was not profitable, right? And hopefully you're gonna be profitable a lot quicker than me. It's not gonna take you 7, 8 years like it took me, because you're watching videos like this. But there's really only 2 things you need to learn: handicapping and being a good sports bettor. Put those 2 together and you're gonna make money betting on whatever sport you choose. So like I said, go and watch my videos, because I cover both topics in depth on multiple different videos. Fill your head with as much knowledge as possible. Try to improve and learn on your mistakes as you go. Gamble within your means, gamble responsibly, etc., etc. Once you learn everything you need to know, then you can be a little bit more risky. And that's it. Hopefully this video has helped you today. Hopefully this video has simplified making money from MMA or any other sport. And I'll do a lot more videos on this type of content in the future. So good luck on your bets, and I'll see you in the next video.